Investing in online business can make you a lot of money, but it can also be extremely risky if you get it wrong, because investing in online business isn't the same as the S&P 500. There are many different ways to do it, ranging from active to passive and anywhere in between. And if you pick the wrong one and don't have the experience to back it up, you could land yourself in big trouble. So in this video, I'm going to talk you through the 3 best ways to invest so that you can pick the right one that suits your personal background, your investing style, and your expertise. By the way, if you don't know who I am, my name's Dom Wells. I've been investing in online businesses for 10 years. I currently run a $10 million online business portfolio listed on the NASDAQ. And we occasionally take additional capital from high net worth individuals looking to access our expertise and get lucrative returns. If you're looking to invest in online business, you're broadly going to have 3 options. The first of which is to work with an operator. What this typically means is you buy an online business and then you hire someone who knows how to run it, and then you incentivize them to run it for you. Sometimes you might actually connect with that operator first. It could be somebody you know who's a successful entrepreneur, and you say, hey, I want to get in the space. Can we partner up and let's go find a business and you can run it and I'll pay for it? It's pretty common from what I've seen in the space. I see a lot of entrepreneurs who are searching for a business and they're backed by either friends and family, their own capital, and a combination of the above. I think the advantages are you get more control, you can kind of choose what business to buy, you can choose when to sell, maybe you have control over budgets and things like that. It can lead to superior returns and just generally more control. And the disadvantages are it's really rare to find a good operator. And if you can find a good operator, it's even rarer to find a good operator who knows how to actually acquire something. Most online business operators, they started something from scratch and they know how to hustle and build something, but they don't necessarily know how to go out, acquire something successfully and get good returns. In fact, I'd say there's probably more horror stories than success stories there. And that's assuming you know someone. If you don't know someone and you think, yeah, I'm going to buy a business and hire someone to run it, I just really don't think you should do that unless you're a successful entrepreneur yourself, or you know a successful entrepreneur who not only can run an online business, but they've got a track record of successfully acquiring them. Now, if you're not an experienced entrepreneur or you don't have access to an experienced entrepreneur, then another option might be to work with an independent sponsor. This is an area which actually is growing quite rapidly at the moment. It's kind of replacing angel investing as a way of accessing online business. The way it works is an independent sponsor could be one individual, could be a small team. They will find a deal, they'll find a business, they'll negotiate a deal, they'll negotiate terms, they might access some debt capital themselves, and then they'll look for some equity partners who want to come in and help them close the deal. A common way of doing this is through an SBA loan where a lender will fund 70% of a transaction, but the sponsor needs to bring in another 30% of equity to kind of bridge the gap. And they might say, okay, I can put 10% in myself, but where am I going to get the 20% from? And that's where people typically partner with independent sponsors. Now, a lot of independent sponsors, they get capital from family offices, private equity funds, and so on. But increasingly, I'm seeing people working with high net worth individuals, accredited investors. Maybe they're just looking for $1 million and they're willing to take 10, 100K checks from 10 individuals or something like that. Usually when you work with an independent sponsor deal, the advantage is it's a lot more passive for you. You don't have to put up all of the money. You can diversify. Let's say you've got 500K to invest. You could put 100K into 5 deals, for example. You're not on the hook for the personal guarantee of the debt capital. The leverage returns can be good. There's a lot of advantages, and usually the sponsor is incentivized in a way that they're encouraged to get very good returns. Maybe they're even encouraged to exit early so you can get your capital back early. The bad things are you still have to find a good sponsor. Like I was saying earlier about how rare it is to find a successful entrepreneur who both is repeatedly successful and knows how to acquire successfully. That doesn't change with an independent sponsor. The only difference is an independent sponsor typically is incentivized for growth. They don't get really much capital or pay unless they succeed. So they do have a bit more incentive. And also they usually invest a bit of their own capital, so they've got skin in the game. Whereas in the previous model where you hire an operator, sure, you can give them upside and so on, but usually they're more like an employee. The types of people who gravitate towards the independent sponsor model are more likely to succeed. And also you don't have to go out and find one, because there are places where independent sponsors are sharing their deals, so at least the hard work there is done. Now, if that model doesn't work for you, there are different funds out there that take money from accredited investors. Sometimes the minimum's 50k, 100k, 250k. Obviously, there are much larger ones as well. They might be a thematic fund where they say, we're just going to invest in software, we're just going to invest in agencies like what our current fund is doing. Typically, they work the same way a kind of standard fund would be. They'll charge a management fee and then a percentage of profits past a hurdle, just like you might get with a real estate fund or any other private equity fund. The advantages of these are, again, your money can go a bit further. It's passive. You don't really have to worry about understanding the businesses that they're buying. You have to know that they know what they're doing. So your role shifts from evaluating the actual businesses that are being bought to evaluating the management team and their track record, their expertise, their integrity, all of those things. I think the disadvantage with a fund is with an operator, you're kind of choosing the deal. With an independent sponsor, usually you're choosing the deal. With a fund, it's kind of a blind pool. So you're saying, okay, yeah, here's my 50k, here's my 250k. I'm going to trust that you're going to go out and buy correctly. It's the best way to get your feet in the space, in my opinion, because it's passive, it's diversified, and there's much less reliance on a single business. So there's less that can go wrong. With an independent sponsor deal, the whole thing could blow up and you lose all your money. With working with an individual operator, I'd say that's probably more likely than not going to happen. With a fund, the worst case scenario is maybe your returns aren't as good as you hope. So maybe instead of 25%, you get 15%, which is not a disaster at all. In terms of liquidity, I'd say fund probably is the least liquid unless they have an annual redemption like ours does. Otherwise, I'd say there aren't really that many negatives with working with a fund. You just have to have more faith in the management team. The other interesting thing is kind of size. So sometimes the reason people want to do the individual approach and work with an individual operator, it's because maybe some of the best opportunities are buying small fixer-upper businesses, like let's buy this business for 50k and sell it for 500k. Whereas a fund, an independent sponsor deal, usually they have to be a certain size. Like an independent sponsor can't get leverage and capital unless the business is maybe 5 million in profit. And a fund, they can't make the whole thing work at a smaller amount. So there might be more returns available if you can work with an individual operator and roll up some small companies. But I just think it's so difficult to get it right for most investors. I think the reason you're investing in the first place is because you want to get pretty good passive returns. So I would still say for most people you shouldn't do that. But that is one of the advantages of being able to work with an individual, is you can uncover opportunities that don't exist. That being said, online business can produce very, very good returns regardless. You can get 25% just investing in a fund. So, why do you need to bother messing around with some of the other stuff? If investing in a passive fund seems like it might be the right option for you, click the link in the description, have a conversation with me, see if we are a good fit. So now you understand the 3 best ways of investing. How do you actually pick a good business to acquire? Well, watch the next video where I talk about my 5-step process that I've used to invest in over 40 businesses over a 10-year period.